Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Life Advice with Pedro, where we discuss topics submitted by the community. I share advice and experience with you. Today's topic is going to give a little bit different tone to the video, but before we get into that, I want to make sure that you guys check out our other life advice videos, along with all the other content that we have on YouTube in the description below. Check out those links, come back, and let's discuss this topic. So this topic is a difficult one to discuss, because it is something that impacts me greatly on a personal level, and I know it impacts a lot of people. But it was a topic that was submitted by the community, and I did promise that I was going to discuss these topics. So, today's topic is depression. Depression is something that I have dealt with for a long time, many years, through my teenage years. Hit me again in my 20s, and it's been very rampant again in my 30s. And it's something that I struggle with on a daily basis, sometimes small, sometimes overwhelming. But I've had depression and anxiety issues for as long as I can remember. And it's really hard to break it down and give a definition of what I go through on a daily basis. But there's a quote that I do enjoy about depression. I think it is as close as possible to kind of sum up how it feels. And for anyone that goes through these issues, it may ring true to you as well, but you may experience something different. The quote is, "Depression is feeling like you have lost something, but having no idea what it is that you lost. But by the time that you realize what it is, you realize that you've lost yourself." I think that quote pretty much hits it true for me. Depression is a struggle that I don't think anyone's prepared to take on, but a battle that you have to fight no matter what. So what I'll do first is I'll kind of share a little bit about myself and the struggles that I've had, and then at the end I'll try to talk about what I do to get through these situations and prepare myself for the next day, no matter what that struggle is going to be. So like I said, I've dealt with this for a long time. When I was a teenager, it was extremely difficult for me. The problem is that I went the wrong route on how to deal with how I was feeling. It was kind of contributed that hormones, going through puberty, going up to adolescence, going through school, bullying, all these things are all contributed to how I was feeling. But there was a lot that was going on. My family went through a pretty bad breakup between my mom and dad. Substance abuse was rampant around me. Alcoholism, all these kinds of things that were evident, and something that I looked at, and that was a normal for me, but it never felt normal. It always felt off, and it just kind of impacted me more and more as the years went on. So what I ended up doing is following the path that I saw laid out, which is turn to substances. Through friends, family, including my own mother, substances were presented to me, and I took it up because I thought maybe this was a path that I could take to feel different. I was sad every day. I felt like I was always in a pitch black room, and I couldn't find my way. I struggled in school, especially when I first got into high school. I was failing every class, was hardly going. Just had no desire to do much of anything. And it kind of came to a head when I was 15, and I attempted suicide. And it's very difficult to talk about. It's still, to this day, I can picture every moment of that kind of blip in my life, and I can feel every emotion. I can smell everything. I mean, like, it is like it's yesterday. So when I was 15 years old, I had been drinking, and I decided that it wasn't worth it anymore. And I'd felt that way for a while, that I didn't want to go through this anymore. And so what I did is I took a pair of scissors and I went into the bathroom. I locked the door, had the light off, and I cried for a long time. I can't tell you how long I cried for, but it felt like an eternity. And then I attempted to cut my wrists. That was going to be it. I was going to bleed out in the bathroom, and that was the end. I wouldn't have to feel it anymore. And I can't tell you why I didn't do it. There was a feeling that came over me that as I was getting ready to, the tears stopped, and something inside me just clicked where it was, I didn't want to do that. There was something, and I don't know what it was, but something inside me just clicked, and I said, okay, I don't want to do it. And I threw the scissors down, and I cried harder at the thought of what I was about to do. And it was at that point that I realized I had to change something. So I stopped with substances to a degree. I still was doing some things that I should not have done, but it was not on the level that I was at that point. I started changing the people that I hung out with, changing the crowd that I was around. I stopped going to my mother's house as much, and I started focusing on other things. My goal was to find some kind of happiness, and I found a lot of it to do with writing. I was able to express myself in writing, but not have to actually discuss that with anyone. So I turned to writing, journaling, poetry, short stories, long stories, and it was something that I was able to use as an escape. I can't promise you that it will always be what you can do, but journaling to me was huge. I was not comfortable talking to anybody, but I was comfortable enough to write something out and get it out. And that was big for me. That was big. It was very therapeutic to write it down, because otherwise it was always just inside, eating away, clawing at me, doing all the things that you don't want it to. And writing it down and getting it out, even if nobody ever was going to read it, it was something. It was out. That was huge for me. So I used that for a long time. In my 20s, I joined the military. I learned a lot about myself. I explored the world. I grew a lot more confident, and it really helped me big time. I ended up leaving the military in my 20s, coming back home and living life, and I was doing great. I'd have moments where I'd go out drinking and get really emotional and have some of those feelings come back. I'd get sad sometimes, but it was really manageable compared to what it was. And then in my late 20s, I got into a relationship that ended up being very abusive, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so that really set me back in my late 20s. It was a really difficult situation to be in. I didn't know how to handle it for the first year or so of that relationship. I did really well. I was able to handle those situations, get past them, but it really kind of cracked. I felt like I had built an armor up to where I was able to rely on that armor to protect me from those feelings. Like, they try to come in, they try to take over, and it would just bounce back. And sometimes a little bit would slip through the cracks, but I'd be okay. I'd get through it. And then that just continued to crack the armor. And then it finally broke in my late 20s going into my 30s. And it's been a struggle ever since. I'm trying to rebuild my armor up, figured out what it is that I love to do. And this is one of the things that helps me more than anything else. Being able to face my biggest fear, which is expose myself and be honest and open with the emotional side of things. So that's been my struggle. I'm not sure if it is relatable to you, if it is something that you go through, but the one thing I do want to make sure that I explain is that it's okay to feel that way. The biggest thing for me is that when I stopped feeling is when it got the most scary. When I felt numb, when I felt, or even sometimes still, when I just feel disengaged from everything. To me, is the scariest part of it. when I feel sad and get angry really easily, feeling something. And that still is like, I'm still there. I haven't lost that part yet. So if you're feeling sad and angry and or any kind of emotion, you're feeling it, hold on to that. Even if it's sadness and anger, embrace that and confront that, because it is something. You are there. You are still there. You are still a part of this. So if you were still present, right, then you can change it. You can get through it. So what do I do now? Well, I still write, not as often as I did. I like to go outside, take a walk. Just actually today I was going through some stuff and I stood up and I started messing with a yo-yo to take my mind off of it. And that's huge. Those types of things, just getting active, moving, distracting myself. Video games are obviously a huge part of it. Getting on and talking to you guys about stuff, streaming. That's why I'm on Mixer, to be able to stream and have conversations and do something that is completely different than my mindset was. And so my advice to you, as we talk about life advice with Pedro, is if you feel something, feel it. Wholeheartedly feel it. Embrace it, confront it, feel it. And then find what can distract you. For me, it was writing, music, going outside, doing something, whether it's shooting hoops, playing with a yo-yo, messing with the dog. Obviously, my son is a huge reason that I can smile every single day. So find something and find what works for you. And at the end of the day, there's a link in the description down below for my Discord. Go in there, message me privately too. Just know that I'm always here for you. No matter who you are, if we've never spoken before, we talk every single day, I'm here for you. Reach out to me if you need anything. You're not alone. It's gonna be okay. That is Life Advice with Pedro today, guys. See you next time. Guys, that was some more content from us. We hope that you enjoyed it. And before you go, make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below so we know what you thought about it. Also, before you take off, there's some more content right over here. Go check out those videos. See you next time.